Jim, you're a student, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about information technology, not so much web pages, but I know these days in college, a lot of it's on the internet. You're using things like Blackboard, and it's all about you using the computer to get what you need. But I wanted to ask you, what can a professor do that makes things easier for you? We'll start with the positive.
Well, I mean, just a good teacher is someone who is aware and cognizant that I will need things ahead of time, not, 2 days before the class, and that's just not, it doesn't serve a purpose for me. A good example of something was I had a class that used Adobe Connect. It's like an interactive chat, and because my Zoom text, like we've kind of talked about, makes the perspective so large on the screen, I was missing, this is a negative example, I was missing that there was a little allow button for the plugin to activate, and I was missing that allow button that I was supposed to be clicking, and so I was missing out. Everybody else, you could hear everybody else in the microphone chat, and nobody could hear me. I was sitting there talking into my headset, and it wasn't working, so it was pretty discouraging. So sometimes it's not the professor as much as it is the the newer technologies that are out there, and that's all.
So what kind of help do you need? And I was going to ask Clay and Grace this too. We're going to talk about PDFs and Word documents and putting them into a screen reader format so that your screen readers could read them. But what kind of supports do you need from other people to make all this happen? I mean, you go in and get a document that you're supposed to read. You can't read it. What do you have to do?
Well, if it's in a PDF in a non-accessible form, I'll have to actually go print the PDF out, and like I was telling you all before, take it to Student Disability Services. They'll have to scan it because their version of Kurzweil has the virtual printer on it that our licensed Kurzweil that you use through the VPN does not have it. So I have to take it there and wait on someone else to basically do it for me. So that's obviously, it's incredibly time consuming sometimes, and it's very inconvenient for me to, step away from wherever I could have been studying and go to, go to Student Disability Services and have to wait on somebody else to do something that I feel like I should be fully able. Right.
And in your own time.
Right.
Clay, when you were in school, when you went to USC, we have Clemson and USC here. Yeah, we've already talked about that. Now, you worked in the library, didn't you?
I did.
At USC. What did you need in place?
Well, a lot of the scanning that we did was for textbooks for students. We'd scan them in and convert them to accessible files if they were doing research for a particular purpose. But we did get a lot of PDF files that were scanned images, and we ended up having to run those through OCR.
Which is optical character recognition.
And then convert that to a regular file, which will have some errors in it here and there, but it's better than not having the file at all. Or we'd have to have somebody actually sit down if it's got, some PDFs are pictures that somebody has handwritten on as well. So we'd have to actually have somebody read that material onto some sort of tape or whatever, or actually type it in physically.
And so if you design accessible to start with, you avoid all these people having to support a student or a person. Grace, what do you all do at work? If you need help, who helps you? And what do they do?
Well, thankfully I generally don't run into too many issues with that. We don't do a whole lot with PDF files, but if we do, they're formatted properly so that I can actually read them, or I can find the source document. Say from our tech writers, their source files can spit it out in HTML or in help file format or PDF. So I usually can get another format if the PDF isn't that useful. So thankfully I don't have too many issues where I need a person to manually do something for me.